Today, we're going behind the scenes of the double bass's big brother in some ways with my brother-in-law. What's going on? It's Jason Heath, and I think it's so cool that my brother-in-law, Joe Brown, owns the J.F. Nordley Organ Company. Joe and I were hanging out early this summer, and he said, you want to come by and check out what we do, restoring organs? I thought, heck yes, because I've spent my whole professional life next to an organ, looking at organs, talking about organs. We got the 16-foot pipe register that we talk about as bass players, and I've always been curious about them, and Joe has spent the last many years working on these instruments, so we're going to take a look at the workshop. We're going to take a look behind the scenes. We're going to sit down with Joe and chat about organ building and what goes into it, and I really hope you enjoy it.
The J.F. Nordley Company's wood shop in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I am the new owner, currently vice president of the company. I've worked here for about 18 years, and we build and renovate and care for pipe organs.
How on earth did you find yourself in this position? Because you've kind of gone through the ranks here, right? How did you get introduced to this company? How did that all happen?
John Nordley, the company founder, he grew up across the street from my great-grandparents' homestead over on 6th Street, what would now be called kind of the Lacey Homestead. When I grew up, across the street from his mom. So the story is that I grew up going down to Grandma Nordley's for cookies, and he grew up going up to Grandma Lacey's for cookies. And I've always been kind of aware of the shop growing up, just because Grandpa Nordley would make us, wooden toys and things growing up. And he was also one of the important craftsmen here when the shop first got started. After college, I was looking for something interesting to do that was functional and artistic, something I'd get to use my hands and use raw materials with. And at the advice of my sister and my dad, I brought a little project in here, and John was kind enough to kind of helped me with one of the first little woodworking projects I ever did. And a couple of weeks later, I kept thinking about the shop, and gosh, that's a neat place to work, and the technology there is so cool. I came in and I asked John for a job, and 18 years later, here I am. One of the first things that throws people off is the number of keyboards. Why do you have different keyboards? Well, the keyboards are for what we call different divisions in the organ. This particular organ is going to St. John Lutheran Church in Battle Creek, Nebraska, and it has two divisions. It's got a grate and it's got a swell. And all that really means is that the grate is one area of pipes in the instrument, and the swell is another area of pipes. The swell is a little special because it's located in a box that has rotating louvers. So the organist is able to manipulate these pedals down here to change how open those louvers are, and they can allow the music to swell out of that chamber. So that kind of explains the reason for the multiple keyboards and divisions. Another thing is all these numbers and different names. What these are is stop tabs. And so for each one of these stop tabs, in most cases, there is a set of pipes in the organ, in the division. And so in the grate, there is a 16-foot quintaton and an 8-foot principal. Those numbers designate the length of the largest pipe. We've got an LED screen that when the organ's on, it shows which memory level you're using. The organ can have up to 100 memory levels on a USB stick. And so they use those memory levels when a church has got more than one organist, so that they don't erase each other's settings. It's also got a transposer function. So if you have a soloist who's singing with you during your service, who can't quite get all the way up to their top note as it plays on the instrument, you can transpose down. It'll go up and down 9 steps. These black tabs here, which are what we call couplers, you're able to bring pipes from different divisions to another division's keyboard. Say you're playing your harmony on the pedal and you want to bring some pipes in from the grate. You'll select grate to pedal 8 foot. You can take grate to pedal 4 foot, and then everything you play on the pedal keys will also be playing in the grate. That'll free your hands up for some solo work. This cap flattens that wind into a sheet that then is pushed up over the upper lip, and it creates a sound wave. That sound wave travels up the pipe, and when it runs into this stopper here, it travels back down and exits the mouth. That's why this pipe is what you'd call a half length or stopped pipe. This is playing a pitch for an open pipe that would be twice as long. So if I remove the stopper.
Oh, wow.
So that's one trick that pipe organ builders have of creating lower pitches, is by stopping the pipe. Forces that sound wave to come back out the mouth and doubles the length. There's lots of different kinds of pipes. If you want to look over here, we were just talking about principal pipes. This is a very typical shape of a principal pipe. The principal pipes are the ones that give the pipe organ sound. These are made out of a lead tin alloy, so they're very soft and very malleable. This little anatomy of a pipe organ is, this is your toe. That sheet inside is called the languid. This small piece here is called your lower lip. This piece here is your upper lip. And these are beards, or ears, they're called sometimes. And in order to get the pipe into pitch, we lengthen it by moving this slide tuner up and down. These are fit so that they don't move very easily. But I can show you with the wooden pipe how changing that slide tuner, or in the wooden pipe case, the stopper, changes the pitch. So that's something that when your pipe organ tuner comes into tune, that's what he's manipulating, is that stopper or that slide tuner. In the case of a reed pipe, he is adjusting a wire. People who played clarinet or oboe will feel pretty good when they see this. This pipe actually has a mechanism on the inside. It's a thin flap of brass. And when that note is played and wind is forced through there, that flap vibrates. And it creates a very trumpet or reed-like sound. Indeed, many of the reed stops in a pipe organ are called the trumpet. There's a posauna stop. There's tubas, and they range from all different kinds of instrument names. But when these are being tuned, there's a couple ways to manipulate that. One way is to move this wire up and down. And you'll see here that as that wire is moved up and down, it's going to change the length of that vibrating sheet. Another adjustment is this little flap at the top. That's made for very, very small adjustments. And in high quality pipe makers, once these are set, they should require very little adjustment after the organ is set up. If you go and look at a new instrument, one that you're not familiar with, invariably there will be one stop on there that you've never heard of before, and you go to play it and you listen to it and you go, oh, okay, it sounds kind of like this, it sounds kind of like that. And there is a degree of commonality between builders, but the way this craft kind of took shape, everyone, a master builder could name the set of pipes whatever he wanted. So in the Netherlands, this might be called a gedakt. In Germany, it might be called a gedeckt. And so depending on the style the organ builder is going for and the region that they're from, they can look completely different from one organ to the next.
So you've got something from 80 years ago. I'm just picking a time. Mm-hmm. Do people want that updated with the MIDI as an option?
Oh,
or is it like this is from this era, you shall not touch it?
Well, that's what that's our belief here. We were just made aware of a 150-year-old instrument that's in a church in Sioux City, a Marklove, which is a quality builder from that time. The organ was renovated by Fritz Nowak, who is the organ builder that our founder apprenticed with in Boston, Massachusetts. I think in 1964, he renovated this Marklove. And the church is looking for a new home for it because unfortunately their congregation is dissolved, and they wanted to make sure that it went to a home where no one would just take the pipes out and put them into a new project, or take this part out and put it into a new project. And so, yeah, if we find an old instrument, we do our best to maintain its historical integrity. And we've had a couple of successful jobs. The Shrine to Music, or the National Music Museum down in Vermilion, contacted us several years ago to help them dismantle and package 4 of their pipe organ instruments for the new renovation they're doing down there. And we're very sensitive to making sure that those instruments remain as their builders made them, so that they can be considered museum pieces. Maybe you can give me some insight, but many times the quality of an instrument isn't proven until it's been in use for 50, 60, 80, in some of these cases, hundreds of years. Mm-hmm. And at that point, once you realize this thing is going to stand the test of time, it's going to continue to work forever as long as we can get replacement leather and wood and hide glue. Mm-hmm. Maybe they didn't know what they were doing when they chopped that thing down. You imagine, could that have happened to a Stradivarius?
Yeah. Luckily, I think most of the violins and the cellos got spared a little bit. The basses, and it was always like the ugly stepchild of the luthier family that made the basses. They'd be like the Bassan workshop. And they'd be like, hey, go make this bass. And so they'd make this Fred Flintstone thing that is with amazing woods. It still sounds good, but yeah, it's interesting. And organs, again, kind of like basses, in some way, in a couple ways, they're good for a long time. It's not even like a harp. My wife plays harp. A harp has a shelf life. Mm-hmm. The soundboard starts to fail, and you don't want to play on a 50-year-old harp. It's not a good thing. String instruments, that's a very good thing, and you might not know what's great until you get a few decades in. Mm-hmm. It seems like organ can kind of be a similar.
Yeah. So here's something that's kind of relevant to our time. There was a fire in Notre Dame in Paris recently, and one of the things that was damaged there was the pipe organ. So now the pipe organ community is kind of, we're on our toes, wondering about what's going to happen. How are they going to incorporate the new instrument there? Because as it was before the fire, it was not original. That thing had been updated and hacked apart and added to a number of times. And so as they go through their process of, rebuilding the forest, the structure of all their timber framing there, another thing that's going to happen is for that organ to go back in. And every now and again you get a little information back, so-and-so might be working on it, so-and-so might be working on it. And historic, world renowned instrument. It's up in the air for what it's what it's going to be like, and it's kind of exciting.
Yeah, for sure.
I hope they get it right.
Thank you so much for checking this out. JF Nordly, what a cool company. We've got links to their website and everything in the description below. Thank you to Joe Brown for taking the time and showing me around. And if you'd like to learn more about organ building, maybe I'll do another video the next time in Sioux Falls. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.